Mark?
Yeah,
Hi,
welcome
Mark.
back to the show. How are you?
Hi. Last time I called, I was a bit nervous when I talked to Matt and Jeff.
Yeah, you
they
talked to me
actually-
the time before that, too.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm sorry about that.
It's
You
okay.
have to understand that my church is fundamentalist, so
Yeah.
we have we have a very strict opinion, and it's sometimes nervous when you talk to someone. You see, it's not normal for us to talk about things like this.
Well, I understand it must be difficult because, I mean, when you're in a group of people who sort of all agree on stuff, it can be kind of jarring to have some very different opinions being expressed on the air. It's probably
Right. Have you ever been to our church before?
No, I haven't, but, I'm not saying I wouldn't be willing to go sometime.
Right. Well, if you want to understand what we believe, just go to austinstone.org/resources/sermons, and there are MP3s you can listen to.
I'm pretty sure I actually already listened to one, but I don't remember which one it was.
Okay, well, I think the most important sermon for you to listen to is the sermon on hell, because we believe in a literal hell. It's not a symbolic separation from God. It's a literal place.
Okay, and that's important to us so that we could understand that that's what you believe?
So that we could understand that when the kids at our church who have become fans of your show get caught watching it, there's the parents, they all got together. They were really worried because they believe if their kids watch your show, agree with you, they will literally burn.
Well,
Forever.
maybe the parents should just not believe that so much.
They're worried about their kids, and
Wait a minute. Can I ask a question?
yeah.
Would you worship somebody that was going to burn your child to death?
Well, that is. We also believe in heaven.
Right, I understand. So if somebody said, there's a chance that, but if I don't, if your kid doesn't believe in me and doesn't believe that I will burn him to death, I'm going to douse him with gasoline and put a match to him. Is that somebody you would love and worship?
That is what the Bible says.
I agree. Well, I agree with that's your interpretation.
It says that at the end of the age, God will round up the non-believers like weeds, like a farmer rounds up after the harvest, and burn them.
And you believe this, I understand, but what I'm saying is, why would you worship a God that would be so hideous?
We believe that it's not shocking.
Actually, it kind of is. I mean, you're saying that this God, you're afraid that this God will burn your children, for all eternity, torture them, and you're saying that you don't want your children to question that, or because if it's really true, they need to believe and worship this God like you believe and worship this God, that you're saying your concern is that this God may torture your kids forever. And I'm saying, why would you worship a God that you think would torture your children forever?
We think that we deserve it for what we've done to God. That's what I mean. It's not shocking if you consider that we spit on God and trampled on His holiness.
Okay.
That He would do that. Actually, what one of our preachers, Matt Carter, said is it's shocking that He would even give us the chance to go to heaven.
So if I don't believe in, if somebody doesn't, if somebody spits on me, then I can douse them with gasoline and put a match to them, and you think that's perfectly reasonable?
Well, actually, God is an infinite authority. So if someone were to spit on you, that would be like, our preacher said, like a drop of, like a raindrop in the Pacific Ocean next to what God would do.
So let me get this straight, though. You're saying that you actually teach your children then that they deserve to be tortured forever. Right? Am I understanding?
This wouldn't be like you offended a human. This would be like the punishment would be infinite because God's authority is infinite. It's not like if I spit on you and you tortured me. This would be like he said that the comparison between your punishment and God's punishment would be like a comparison between a raindrop and the Pacific Ocean.
Okay, well, can I burn, like, just your hand then? Can I, like, douse your hand in gasoline and burn it because I'm not God? I guess it's disturbing to me that you have a doctrine that teaches you that people deserve to be tortured forever and that you're willing to teach your children that, and also that
only if they reject God.
It doesn't matter. Why in the world would not believing in something require that a person should be tortured forever, and why would you think that's reasonable? And to top it all off, unless you have some evidence that this God even exists, why would you believe any of this?
Well, hey, hang on, Mark. Let me try to do a little bridge building, because that's what we do here on the Atheist Experience. Last time you called, I remember that you asked Matt what he would think if he were still a Christian. And he gave you a pretty good sort of synopsis of what he would think, and you thought that he understood it pretty well. Am I right? You remember that?
Let me add that my church is fundamentalist. Way more fundamentalist than his church.
Okay, but he said, like, I'd be concerned that our kids, would be burned forever for becoming apostates, and you said, yeah, that's pretty close to what we think. So we understand where you're coming from, right? Sort of?
I think you would understand if you were to listen to the sermons, come to the church.
But my question to you is, do you understand where we're coming from? I mean, do you understand that from our point of view, we don't believe what you believe? We haven't been convinced that God is real and that the Bible is absolute truth. And I mean, you get that, right? I mean, like, you're coming at us telling us that you're afraid that your kids are going to be burned forever, and Tracy is kind of humoring you here. But really, you understand that the reason we're not taking this more seriously is because we just haven't seen any good reason to think that's true. You get that?
Right. I know I'm not as charismatic as the preachers at my church, but if you listen to
it's not about
charisma I referenced, you will get a good idea.
Yeah,
of where I'm coming from.
It's not about charisma, really. I mean, the problem is that if you're gonna rest things on people with charisma, I mean, like, I hate to invoke a cliche, but Hitler had charisma. He convinced a lot of people to believe a lot of horrible things about Jews, but you and I know that the things that he was saying weren't right, right?
Yeah.
So,
have you listened to sermons before?
Oh, lots of them. I used to listen to, KIXL in the car all the time.
Sermons about hell?
Sure. And so, I'm telling you, I understand.
We believe, and you know that we find you repulsive.
I know.
You are leading our kids to
truth.
Well, no, you say that we're leading your kids to hell, but we think, and apparently a lot of the kids in your church also think, that this stuff really is kind of made up, that you don't have a good reason to believe it. You see where they're coming from? I mean, they're really, their parents are probably coming down on them hard, grounding them, threatening them with the most horrible punishments.
Instead of giving them some evidence for why we're wrong.
Right.
And the other thing, I mean, just to give you some background, I'm ex-Church of Christ, so I understand hell completely. We had literal hell.
I'm not. I mean, I was born an atheist.
And I don't believe it anymore. And when somebody says to me that they're not concerned about demonstrating their God is real, but they're willing to still go forward and teach, despite the fact that they can't make a demonstration that any of it's real, that they're going to go ahead and teach their children that they're deserving of eternal torture, and that this is not a problem. I have a problem with what you're teaching your kids, frankly. I think that it's damaging, and I think that it's a horrible thing for a parent to tell their children, I think you deserve eternal torture, especially if they can't really demonstrate that there's any reality behind that claim.
There is a logical argument. Our preacher told us, he told us the logical argument. If you offend your parents, they might ground you or spank you.
Yeah, but again, I'm
you
still not sure if you're getting
the
this.
Supreme Court, they might lock you up. And if you offend God, His authority is even bigger, so the punishment is bigger.
Okay, I don't believe
Right.
your God is real. Okay, so I think you are basically making your children afraid of the monster under the bed and telling them that